Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Current Awareness. Okay, guys, we're watching this old footage of the Piper Alpha oil rig, July 6, 1988.
July 6th, 1988. 120 miles northeast of Scotland. The Piper Alpha oil rig. At 14,000.
Look at that. 120 miles northeast of Scotland. It's massive. 14,000 tons. That's huge.
Yeah, and they said it's 2.5 times taller than the Statue of Liberty. Imagine how high that is, standing in the middle of the ocean.
Grabe, ang laki. And this thing was the world's most successful oil rig, producing more oil than anyone else. Can really feel the pressure to to keep it running 24/7.
Exactly. And that pressure to never stop is already a hazard. Let's note that down as our first hazard, production pressure.
And with that hazard, that risks include first one, rushed maintenance decisions, second one, ignoring safety procedures, third one, poor communication between shifts.
Makes sense. Kasi minsan gusto lang nila matapos agad yung trabaho. And that's how accidents happen.
Tons and 2.5 times the height of the Statue of Liberty, it is one of the largest rigs in the world.
Piper Alpha was the world's most successful oil rig. What that means was that in a single day, Piper Alpha produced more barrels of oil than any other oil rig or oil platform in the world.
A crew of 226 rotate shifts to keep the oil and gas flowing. Jeff Bollins is
226 crew members working shifts non-stop. That's a whole small community living at sea.
And that's another hazard, human fatigue. Constant shifts causes exhaustion and slower reaction during emergencies.
The risk there would be is reduced alertness during critical operations, missed warning signals, and poor decision making in emergencies.
Exactly. Tired workers don't always catch mistakes. And on an oil rig, one mistake is enough.
control room operator that evening. At 9:45 p.m., Jeff suddenly hears an alarm indicating a problem with one of the
Here we go. This is where everything starts. One of the condensate pump strips.
So that means the gas couldn't flow properly.
Yeah, the pumps move condensate, basically liquid hydrocarbons, crucial for oil and gas flow. And here's our third hazard, equipment malfunction.
What about the risks?
Uncontrolled gas leaks, system overload and pressure buildup, explosion due to mechanical failure.
And alam mo, minsan they think it's just a small chip, but sometimes the small warnings are already life or death.
rig's condensate pumps.
Them condensate injection pumps tripped more than any other equipment we had. No panic. We knew we needed to get it back on because it was going to start affecting production.
That evening, Pump A is offline for maintenance, leaving just Pump B working. The same pump that's now been shut down by the alarm's trip system.
The condensate pumps were an integral part of the production facility. You couldn't have them both offline for any great length of time without shutting down everything.
To avoid a full shutdown, a decision is made to halt maintenance on Pump A and bring it back online.
So they turned back on the pump that was under maintenance without the safety valve.
That's right, a total violation of procedure. The valve was removed, meaning gas could freely escape. That's a fourth hazard, maintenance error or procedural lapse.
And the risk would be gas leakage, fire ignition, or even explosion or structural collapse.
See, that's what happens when documentation and communication fails. The maintenance team should have tagged the pump as unsafe.
Exactly. That's a related concern, lack of permit to work control. If proper tagging and isolation were followed, this disaster could have been stopped right there.
But what nobody knows is that pump A has a fatal flaw. During maintenance, its safety valve has been removed, meaning that there is nothing to stop thousands of cubic feet of gas escaping into the atmosphere. The faulty pump is switched back on. Then, at 9:55 p.m., disaster.
Ayan na, the first explosion.
And imagine, the crew had no idea the pump was unsafe. The flame temperature was 700 degrees. That's like standing inside a furnace.
That brings us to the fifth hazard, presence of flammable materials and poor fire control systems.
Risks include rapid fire spread, explosion chain reactions, structural collapse due to the heat.
And one more concern, faulty or missing firewalls. They said firewalls that should have been separated modules were properly built to handle explosions.
A spark suddenly ignites the escaping gas, and an explosion rips through the rig. Confronted by 700-degree flames, most of the 226-strong crew are now either dead or severely injured.
You can hear the survivors describing the scene. It's pure chaos. People calling for help.
That's a related concern, poor emergency preparedness. They didn't have the proper evacuation plan. Helicopters couldn't land because of the smoke and heat.
Plus, their communication system failed after the first blast. No coordination whatsoever. Another concern right there.
Yeah, and we have inadequate fire training. You freeze instead of act. That's another concern.
Let's list these concerns as part of our HIRAC, Hazard Identification, Risk Assessment and Control. Lack of safety valves. 2, poor communications between shifts. 3, pressure to maintain procedure. 4, fatigue and long shifts. 5, inadequate emergency responses. 6, missing fire barriers. 7, faulty maintenance documentation. 8, lack of fire-resistant materials. 9, inefficient fire detection system. 10, no clear evacuation routine. 11, poor supervision during night shift. 12, panic and lack of leadership. 13, incomplete isolation systems. And 14, overconfident in safety record. And 15, ignored warning alarms. Ignored warning alarms.
Nearest analogy is that it was a cross between Titanic and the Towering Inferno.
All hell was breaking loose on that night. It was just a scene for hell. It's the only way you could describe it, a scene of absolute carnage and hell. Flames, explosions, debris. Things were escalating so fast at that point that it was almost impossible to take things in.
By 10 to midnight, less than 2 hours after the initial blast, the Piper Alpha is on the verge of collapse.
2 hours lang. Just 2 hours. From the first spark to total collapse.
And 167 lives were lost. That's really heartbreaking.
The saddest part, the fireboats nearby were told to hold back because they didn't know what was happening. Another concern, lack of coordination with rescue team.
I think such big operations would have automatic system shutdowns, right?
They did, but the system wasn't designed for this type of gas leak. That's another flaw in risk control, failure in design safety.
Finally, the rig's legs start to give way, and the Piper Alpha starts to slide into the sea.
Where A module was, and the rest of the platform just started drifting apart. And the other 3/4 of the platform just very slowly fell into the North Sea. And that's my worst memory of the night, because I know for people who were still on it, it would have gone to the bottom of the sea.
One man said, felt like the Titanic, towering inferno combined. That image alone says everything.
Many of them jumped into the freezing sea just to survive.
Yeah, survival at that point depended on chance, which tells us reactive safety never works. You need protective controls.
So in Hyrac, we identify hazards, assess risks, and control them before an incident, not after.
Exactly. Like now, oil rigs follow stricter safety standards because of Piper Alpha. They have clear maintenance logs, shut-off valves, and better fireproofing.
That's the good side. The industry learned hard lessons, but it cost 167 lives to realize how fragile safety can be when shortcuts are taken.
A total of 167 men lost their lives that night. Just 61 survived.
That's a hard watch, but it reminds us technology alone can't really save lives. People, communication, and systems must all work together.
Yeah, no matter how modern your rig is, safety always comes first.
So to summarize our hierarch assessment from the Piper Alpha disaster, hazard, 1, production pressure, 2, human fatigue. Wait, hazard 1 production pressure is what's it called? Risks, rushed decision, ignored safety, poor communication. And the main concept was lack of safety culture. 2, human fatigue, missed signals, slow reaction, wrong judgment, no rest scheduling. 3 is equipment malfunction, gas leaks, overpressure, explosion, faulty maintenance. 4 is maintenance error, gas release, ignition, collapse, no permit to work system. 5, flammable materials, fire spread, explosions, structure loss, weak fire barriers.
Everything connects. One weak point led to another until everything fell apart.
And now, every oil company studies this case. It's a painful lesson, but a necessary one.
Exactly. Safety doesn't just protect the system, it protects lives. That's what Hyrac is all about.